Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we'll start another topic, which is the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. Let's start. The circulatory system includes the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. The cardiovascular system, or the vascular system, it permits blood to circulate and transport the essential elements for the body, such as nutrients, amino acids, and electrolytes, oxygen, carbon dioxide, hormones, and blood cells to and from the cells of the body. Means that it provides the cell of the body with the nutrients and takes up the waste products of the cells. It provides nourishment and help in fighting diseases, stabilize temperature and pH, means the level of hydrogen in blood, and maintain homeostasis, the general condition of the blood or of the body as a whole. The circulatory system, as mentioned earlier, includes also the lymphatic system, which allows for the circulation of lymph, and the circulation of lymph takes much longer than that of the blood. Blood is fluid, of course, consisting of plasma and the blood elements, which are the red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, and circulated by the heart through the vascular system to carry oxygen and nutrients and waste materials away from all body tissue. Lymph is recycled excess blood plasma. There is a degree of filtration at the capillary level, and this is the function of lymph, is to collect the blood plasma filtered from the interstitial fluid, means between the cells, and return back to the lymphatic system, and through the lymphatic system back to the blood through the venous side. The cardiovascular system means the heart and vessel, and of course it comprises the blood and heart and blood vessels. The lymph nodes and lymph vessels form the lymphatic system. As mentioned earlier, it returns filtered blood plasma from the interstitial fluid. The circulatory system has two components, or two types of circulations. For now, there are special types of circulation, of course. Systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation. They call this the major circulation, and they call the pulmonary circulation the minor circulation. The cardiovascular system is prone to many diseases. Diseases either affecting the cardiovascular system or the lymphatic system. As you can see here, this is a drawing of the major circulation, systemic circulation of the body, providing the body with arterial blood and returning the blood after being deoxygenated through the veins back to the heart. If you look here, this is the two lungs and connected to the heart by means of pulmonary veins and pulmonary arteries. Now, you will notice in this drawing that the pulmonary arteries are in blue and the pulmonary veins are in red. Means that the pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart, and the pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from the right side of the heart to the lungs. Okay? The pulmonary artery carries, though carrying deoxygenated blood, is not named a vein because its structures like the wall structure is like an artery, and the pulmonary veins, the wall structure is like veins. That's why the veins are drawn in red here, and the artery in blue. The artery comes out of the right side of the heart from the right ventricle, and the pulmonary veins, they drain the lung into the left side of the heart. The pulmonary artery is structured like an artery because you need a high pressure system to perfuse the lungs with the deoxygenated blood. And the pulmonary veins are structured like veins because they are low pressure system. You need to, drain the lungs fast or in a hurry to bring back the oxygenated blood back to the left side of the heart. The structure of the cardiovascular system, the essential structures or components are the heart, blood, and blood vessels. Pulmonary circulation means a loop through the lungs where blood is oxygenated, and the systemic circulation means a loop through the rest of the body to provide the body with oxygenated, nutrient-rich blood. Blood, as we know, consists of plasma, red blood cells, and white blood cells, and platelets. Actually, the proper name for red blood cells is red blood corpuscles because they don't have a nuclei. Now, the difference between the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system is that the cardiovascular system is closed, means that the blood never leaves the network of blood vessels. On the other hand, the lymphatic system collects the nutrients that diffuse across the blood vessel layers to enter from the interstitial fluid, which carries oxygen and nutrients to the target cells, and carbon dioxide waste in the opposite direction, back to the heart, I mean. So the lymphatic system collects from the interstitial fluid that's outside the network of blood vessels, so that's why it's called an open system. So the cardiovascular system is a closed system, while the lymphatic system is open system. Okay, the term angiology is the study of blood and lymphatic vessels. Anatomical classification of blood vessels. Anatomical means structure and shape-wise. You begin with the pump, which is the heart, two arteries, big arteries and smaller arteries. Then they taper down into arterioles, then capillaries and sinusoids. Then on the other end is venules and veins. As you go down to the capillaries, you lose elastic tissue and gain muscular tissue. Okay? Because the arterioles are that provides, or the main control of the blood pressure in the body. Functional classification of the cardiovascular system. You can classify them, the vessels, into distributing vessels, resistance vessels, exchange vessels, and capacitance vessels. Distribution, resistance, exchange, and capacitance. Distributing vessels, you better to divide them as conducting vessels, means the big arteries, and distributing vessels, smaller and muscular arteries that provide resistance to blood. It's a low volume, high pressure system. It's the main control of the blood pressure. Near the heart, the big vessels with more elastic tissue, and as you go down further the network, you gain smooth muscle rather than elastic tissue. Muscular arteries with increased smooth muscle element, tone, because it provides tone that controls the blood flow to the tissues. Exchange vessels means where the blood will exchange its nutrients for the waste products with the cells. It's capillaries, sinusoids, and postcapillary venules. This is where the exchange occurs. For exchange of O2 and CO2, hormones and vitamins, metabolites, nutrients, inorganic ions, and water. Capacitance vessels long venules and veins, high volume, low pressure system acting as a reservoir. Now, there's also the resistance vessels. We mentioned it's the smaller arteries and the arterioles because they are the main control of the blood pressure. The heart is two pumps, right and left pump. The right pump, it pumps blood to the lungs. The left pump pumps blood to the rest of the body. Composed of 4 chambers and pumps 2 circulations. The major systemic circulation from the left side and the minor pulmonary circulation from the right side. There are other circulations, special type. For example, the portal circulation. It's called portal because it's a connection between 2 capillary beds. Like, for example, how the portal vein works. It's connection between the capillary bed in the intestine and the GIT and the capillary bed in the liver, or the sinusoids of the liver. In capillaries and venules, exchange of materials is called permeability. Okay, the artery is a tissue, so it needs blood supply. Itself needs blood supply. The large vessels have their own blood vessels called the vasa vasorum. They either come from the artery itself or from nearby arteries, forming a network of penetrations of vessel wall till its tunica media. We will study the structure of the artery in later lectures. Rest of the wall of the artery and smaller arteries, they get their oxygen by diffusion from their own blood. So the bigger arteries have their blood vessels supplying them, coming out from the big vessel itself or from nearby vessels called the vasa vasorum, and the smaller vessels, they obtain their needs of oxygen and nutrients from the blood they carry. Also, the blood vessels have nerve supply, but they have no vasodilator tone. The vasodilation occurs when decreased sympathetic vasoconstriction tone. So either increase or decrease sympathetic vasoconstriction. This occurs all over the body except in the muscles, the skin. For example, we have following afferent stimulation leads to dilation of nearby vessels producing itching, and in some exocrine glands. Okay, about veins, they are thin-walled capacitance vessels. Most of them contain valves. The valves composed of pockets called cusps. To make sure that the blood goes in one way means unidirectional. The valves give the knot appearance on the outside, and nerve and blood supply the same like the arteries, the smaller veins from their own blood and the bigger veins from vasa vasorum. Veins accompanying arteries are called venae comitantes. You will find this in the limbs more because you need the counter-current exchange of heat. For example, we have a famous plexus around testicular arteries, provides heat exchange from arteries to veins. Vascular patterns. The vessel branches like a tree. The branch is lesser in diameter than the main artery, but the sum of cross sections of all branches is greater than that of the main artery. We have what's so-called anastomosis, means the blood vessels join together, but the blood vessels don't always end in arterioles and capillaries. They may unite, forming anastomosis, like, for example, when you studied the shoulder, the knee, the ankle, we have anastomosis around these joints. Or in the brain, the circle of Willis between the vertebrobasilar system, the connection between the anterior cerebral arteries by the anterior communicating branch, and around the joints. The purpose of anastomosis is to provide alternative routes for blood flow and equalize pressure differences around joints. Why? Because circulation is temporarily impeded with movements providing collateral circulation. We also have end arteries, means no anastomosis if occluded, and if occluded leads to necrosis of the area supplied because it's not compensated from another source. This occurs in brain substance, artery of retina, the heart muscle, the spleen, the kidney, lungs, metaphysis of long bones, leading to more serious complications because there is no compensation of blood from nearby source or branch. Also, another type of anastomosis between the artery and veins called arteriovenous anastomosis. It occurs before capillary beds, mainly for lowering temperature. This takes place in skin, lips, tongue, and mucous membranes of GIT and nose. Types of circulations. We have the systemic circulation, we are all familiar with, which starts by the heart and to perfuse the body and back to the heart again through veins. We have pulmonary circulation between the heart, going to the lungs and back to the heart again for oxygenation of blood. And we have portal circulation between two capillary beds, like the portal vein, for example, between the GIT and the liver. And we have the fetal circulation. It's a special type of circulation because the fetus lungs are not operating, so the placenta of the mother is the lungs for the fetus. So the placenta provides the fetus with oxygenated blood. That's why we need some changing in the route of blood, like for example foramen in the atria, like the ductus venosus in the liver, to shunt oxygenated blood from these non-working organs to the body. Okay, that's why it's a special type of circulation. I hope you got the maximum benefit from this lecture, and thank you very much for watching.